Hi there, and thank you for tuning in to the Social Circus, where every week we dive into a variety of topics covering social media, mindset, and how to run your business. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Hello, my lovely listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Social Circus. Today is your second last episode for 2024. We're episode 133. So I only have one episode to come next week. So today's episode, we're going to be having a little conversation about reviewing 2024 and how do you do a review of your year. Next week, in my final episode for the year, I'm going to be talking to you about what I'm going to be doing on my Christmas break. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you because I'm having nearly 5 weeks off from work. Well, I'm actually having 5 weeks off from contact with clients is a better way to phrase it. And I'm going to share with you what my plans are for how I'm going to spend that time off and what does that look and feel like. And I'm hoping that it's going to inspire you to review and do a few things in your business over that Christmas period. But let's talk about today's episode and let's talk about 2024 and the year and how do we review it for our business. Now, I'm going to do a shameless plug at the beginning of today's episode because next week on Tuesday, the 10th of December, I am running a goal setting and planning workshop for 2025. Now, this is a paid workshop that's going to be running all day, but as a podcast listener, you can join this class for free. You simply need to go to the show notes on my website, and there will be a link on there to show you how you can sign up for this masterclass and sign up for free. It's normally $197 on the early bird price. I would love to have you join me because in that session, it is recorded. So if you sign up, you will get the recording if you can't attend, if you're not in my time zone. But we do a review of the year, and then we look forward at setting our goals for 2025. So let's talk about my thoughts and process on how do we look at what do we achieve in 2024. Now, I love doing this in my business, and it's something that I actually intend to do on my break. So I will be talking about it in next week's episode as well. But the first thing we always need to do is review our year and see how it went. Now, I'm hoping that at the beginning of this year or late in 2023, you did some goal setting in your business. Now, that is the perfect place to start when you are reviewing how did you go in 2024. Now, one of the things I do find frustrating is when I speak to people, they set really big goals, like I'm going to do 100,000 in my business or 500,000 or 1 million in my business. And then we just pop that in the corner and we plod away. That is like a really mean way to run your business because it makes you feel like a failure because it's really hard to achieve a goal if all you do is put it down as a piece, as a single word, and you don't have some strategy to support that. So if you did do some goal setting for 2024, what I would like you to do is review that and start there and have a look at what did I set out to achieve and then compare what you actually achieved. Now, my personal preference is to take some time and look through my calendar and see what did I do month by month, because it is so easy to forget now that we are in December. What did we do earlier in the year? What was I doing in Jan, Feb? Goodness, I have no idea. So please keep in mind that a really good place to start is to review your month by month. And if you're like me, you'll have things in your calendar like when you ran workshops or when you did different things in your business, different sales, offers, launches, all those kind of things should be captured somewhere. Now, I will be honest and say a calendar is a little bit clunky to review your year. But moving ahead, my preference is to have a spreadsheet that tracks all of the information for your business. So it's a really great idea to have a spreadsheet that will track how you have performed in terms of your social media. So maybe you've grown your social media presence on, and that would be one tab. Another tab would be your revenue broken down month by month. Another tab, your revenue broken down by products or services in your business. These are incredibly telling and help us understand how things went in our business. And I really encourage you to do that moving forward into 2025 because a spreadsheet's nice and meaty. And at the end of each month, what you should do is review your spreadsheet and put in some numbers so you can see what's happening. And a great place to start is with your social media growth and your email list growth, things like that. So like doing that every single month is super important and it allows you to see if things have been improving because it's really easy to get lost in the day-to-day and think, I can't see anything changing. I can't see anything updating. I've been sitting at this many followers for so long. But if we track it month by month, we're going to see those changes and we're also going to be focused on helping improve those results as well. So a great place to start, as I said, is a month by month review of your business. Now, what I want you to do is have a look at some of the things that you achieved with your month by month breakdown. Now, the logical place to start is always sales. It's always that top line number. It's always those things that really impact on our total revenue goal. And that's okay to start there because that can be a good indication of how things have gone in your business. But what I would like you to mark down also is what has changed in your business. So if as you're going through this process, you think to yourself, well, this year I added like a new product or a new service into my business. And I want you to talk about what did that look like? How long did it take to come to fruition? Because this takes a lot of energy to create new things. And I want you to then think about, okay, how many of those did I do this year? Was it 2 or 3? Because, you can't do a lot of those in a single year. So having a look at how many new products or services did you create in your business is also a really good thing because it shows you, wow, maybe I didn't hit my revenue target, but gosh, I really moved ahead and created some new things and it's going to set me up for success in 2025. So that's a great thing to do. The other thing I like to look at is what else did I achieve in my business? Now, these can be big or small things, but we should be looking at them as we are going. So a really good goal, and I want this for everyone in their business, is what are you paying yourself? So a top line revenue number is great, but it doesn't tell us what was our profit and what do we take out as drawings or earnings or wages or whatever that looks like. And that's really, really important to consider those numbers. Like, were you paying yourself regularly? How much were you paying? Again, a spreadsheet is a great idea for this because it helps you track that information. So really, really good place to start. If you're not using software like Xero, which will show you that information, that's fine. You can still track it manually. The other goals that you might want to have are goals around your finances that can be like maybe you started paying yourself superannuation this year. Maybe you took holidays and were able to step away from your business for a period of time. And that maybe felt really, really good. So I want you to think about, aside from that kind of big revenue goal, I want you to look at your profit. And I want you to look at those other things that you did with your money that were really, really exciting. So maybe you engaged with a business coach. Maybe you got some support in your business like a VA. All of those are big milestones in your kind of path to success or your journey to growth. So I want you to think about those bits of information as well. They're really, really important. Now, tracking, as you can see, becomes more and more important. And I hope that today's episode is going to inspire you for 2025 to start really tracking that information, like every month. How have your socials grown? How have your maybe email list grown? And things like, for me, obviously my podcast and how does that go and how does it perform are really, really important. So I love looking at all of those numbers and measuring them each month. Now, I will be honest and say, my beautiful assistant Claire does that for me. She does my tracking of my social medias at the end of every month, the size of my email list. And we also look at with things like ads, which I run regularly in my business, how are they performing? Like, are they performing really well? Are they reaching my benchmarks? Do they need reviewing? Do I need to add different things in? Is something stopped working? I need to add new things in. So that kind of marketing is always really, really good to review because what can happen is we can get to the end of the year. And I've had people say this to me, they're exhausted, they're feeling super tired, and they just think, I can't make decisions, I can't do anything. But here's the reality. If you're feeling exhausted right now, which is very normal, can I just say that? It's very normal to be tired at the end of the year. It has been a really big, hard year. I want you to think about what can you do differently next year. So if you want to look at, like, did your email list grow? And if it didn't grow, oh, you don't have one. I want you to think about why that was. So for me, I have several lead magnets, which are tools that we use to build our email list. And I track how all those are performing and I run ads on them to see, is this growing my business? Is it working effectively? Is it adding value? Now, this is really, really important because if we're not doing things like adding people to our email list, putting ourselves in front of new people on our social media, we're not growing our influence and we're not reaching more people. Now, that is definitely not something that you want to do because you want to be in front of lots of people and you want to be ensuring that you are meeting new people because otherwise you're just selling to the same people. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we do need to bring new people into our world to bring that excitement and energy and that new momentum to show them this is what we do in our businesses and this is what we have to offer. Now, I'm really glad we hear less of that term work-life balance. I think that during COVID, that kind of changed a little bit because lots of people work from home. So I want you to look at for 2024, what did you do really, really well in terms of creating that harmony and balance between your business and your life itself? Now, for me, I put some things in place, and I'll be really frank and say some went really well and some did not. So, one of my goals was to really improve how much I exercise and then going to the gym regularly. And I'll be really honest and say that goes in peaks and troughs depending on how busy I am. So, some days, some weeks I go to the gym 6 times a week, other times I just go twice a week. And I guess my goal for 2025 is to be much more consistent with that, but it is hard. And I'm just going to acknowledge it is hard when you are busy to be really, really consistent with exercise. But that's something I'm quite committed to for next year. So, looking at how much my exercise and fitness has improved is a really good measure for my kind of personal growth for 2024. And also looking at how did I manage my time and how well did I hold my boundaries. Now, I've talked to you all before about how I set up my business in terms of how often I meet with people, what days I coach, what days I don't coach. And I would say that this year, without a doubt, has been one of my best years yet in terms of giving myself that space, like sticking to Wednesday, Thursdays are my coaching days, trying to make Mondays my CEO day. All of those things have worked reasonably well, but I wouldn't say they'd worked perfectly because this happens. People get busy, they have deadlines, and they're like, Sarah, I really need to come and see you. I need to get my ads up or something, and I squeeze people in. So I guess that's the decision I've had to make in terms of my boundaries and how well has that gone. But if I was to give myself a mark, like last year, I would have given myself a C in terms of boundaries and honoring and respecting my time. And this year, I'd say I'd give myself a B because I have definitely improved. However, I still feel I could have done better. So it's always good to kind of ask yourself, how well did I do? Have I got better at it? And what are the areas of improvement? So one of the areas of improvement that I really feel I need to make in 2025 is people circumventing my calendar booking system. And I do this with regular clients because I'm nice and I feel like I want to be accommodating, but it actually is really bad for me and generally really bad for them. So I have a few clients that say to me, I'd love to see you on a regular basis, a regular day and time. Now, if we put that into the calendar, what it means is I set it up as a recurring event. They do not get all of the reminders that my calendar booking system would give them. And what that means is that sometimes they don't show up and sometimes they say, oh, I forgot it was on. And other times it just doesn't work out as I would like it to. So one of my goals for next year is to make people use my calendar booking system and to be more rigorous with that, because as nice that it is for someone to have a regular meeting with me, say fortnightly or weekly, it is really, really difficult for me to accommodate that. And so going into next year, I'm going to try and see if I can work a little bit harder to push people into using my booking system. And I know that sounds really silly, but it's something that I really struggle with because I like to be accommodating. And I'm also mindful that my calendar can be busy and I feel bad. But the truth of it is, if you were really organized, my calendar's open for 90 days. You could get in as soon as it opens and get your bookings in there. So I'm going to send out an email at the end before I finish in December to all of my coaching clients and tell them how things are going to go next year. And one of the things I'm going to be sharing is the need to use my calendar booking system. And that whilst I'd love to accommodate very regular meetings, it's not how I'm going to move forward. So that's probably one of my big fails for the year. So we focus very heavily on some of our financial goals, some of our personal goals, but I also want you to ask yourself, what didn't work this year? Okay, so for me, asking myself, did I create something that didn't perform very well? Did I do something and I'm just like, oh, that was a dud. Like, and I've definitely created digital products that have been duds, so please don't think I'm successful all the time. But what I want to ask myself is, if they didn't work, how am I going to change that and what am I going to take from it? So when I'm doing my goal setting classes, I always talk about this as the gift that comes wrapped in sandpaper rather than the gift that comes wrapped in beautiful paper and ribbons and bows. And these are still gifts, but we still need to unwrap them to find out what is the lesson that we learned from them. And these can be, small lessons, big lessons, or just the lesson can be, don't do that again. So I want you to have a think about in your business this year, if there are things that feel a little bit ick, and you know what I'm talking about, that sit in your stomach and you go, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. And I wish that hadn't happened. And I'm going to use an example of a friend of mine who I also have a business relationship with. Now, she has taken over a local women's networking group. And as part of that process, she took over running a very big event for the organizer of that. Now, that was a debacle, and she had to take over, even though it wasn't her business. She stepped in and took over and paid for things out of her own pocket and ended up losing quite a lot of money, but ran this amazing, successful event. So there's some big gifts in there wrapped in sandpaper, and there's some beautiful gifts in there wrapped in ribbons. So one of the sandpapers is don't do stuff for other people that should cost you money. Like that should never be the case. So that's the gift there. And also when people are running their business, they are always focused on themselves, and they can really easily take advantage of your kindness and your offer to help. So that's like the lesson wrapped in sandpaper. The gift that she got from that was that she ran a really successful event. People loved it, and she stepped up as a leader in that space. And so moving forward, the gift has been she can do this on her own. She doesn't need the support of that other company or that other brand. She's now able to step into her space as a networking leader, which I really, really love. So you can see that lots of things that happen to us throughout the year on face value can look like, oh, I want to just forget that. That was a horrible experience. It feels rubbish. I feel silly. Or I feel like a loser, or I feel like I should have known better. That's one of my favorite stories to tell myself. And actually, when you start to unpack it or unwrap it, you will see the sandpaper can come off. And then sometimes we see a beautiful gift underneath that. And I want you to kind of ask yourself, what is that gift that might be the hard lesson? And what is the lesson that you can take moving forward to help you grow and to flourish from these experiences? They are really, really important. Now, the other thing I want you to ask yourself is, how consistently have I shown up in my business in 2024? Because I truly believe, and I have people say this to me all the time, that they think I'm really successful. And there's no magic formula to that. Can I just say that? Yes, I am definitely successful. But the secret behind that is just consistency. It is so unsexy. I can't even put it into words how unsexy that is. I get up every morning, I work, I show up, I do the things that need to be done, whether I want to or not. Okay? That is my magic formula. And I want you to ask yourself, how much have you shown up honestly in your business this year? Okay? So if you have used life as excuses, which life can definitely get in the way. But if you let yourself get derailed by life incidents, then that can be really problematic in your business. And look, I'm certainly not talking about something really dramatic happened to you in your life or your business. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if our dog gets sick and we take a week off work because we feel like we're all faffing about and we've lost focus and energy. And those kind of things that happen that give us an excuse to opt out of our business. Okay. Now, I see a lot of people doing this. I call it shape shifting, where we say we're really committed and we say we want to be consistent and we say we want to grow our business. And then we really happily find very easy excuses to opt out. Okay. And can I just say, if you have the luxury of opting out of your business, I'm very jealous because I obviously don't. My husband and I work in our business and it's the only thing that brings revenue and income into my family. So I can't opt out and shapeshift and hide. But what I would also say is you're doing yourself a disservice because your business is just like having a newborn baby. It flourishes with consistency. It flourishes with being nurtured and fed on a regular basis. There is no magic to that. All right. So I want you to ask yourself this year, have you allowed yourself to be derailed by different things? And some things can totally give us all the feels. I mentioned this before, very devastated that Donald Trump got in, and I spent the day feeling very devastated. I still showed up and did all my work, but I felt very emotional about it. And so the day that it all kind of happened, I still worked and I still showed up, but I also gave myself grace on the weekend to kind of just feel a bit sorry for myself and a bit kind of peeved at what had happened. So I didn't let it distract me so much that I didn't show up in my business, but I let the feelings settle in. And I kind of promised myself, we'll come back to you, but not today. I'll come back to you on the weekend and circle back to that. So when things happen in life, and I know you know in your heart, is this an event where I need to step away, like say your mum's sick and hospitalized and you have to be present with that, something like that? do I need to step away now and really focus on that? Or am I using this as an excuse and a distraction? Now, no one can tell you the answer to that. If I was your coach, I am not allowed to tell you the answer to that. I can only look from the outside looking in. Like, and an example would be if your dog got sick. Your dog might be your whole world. It might be a show dog and it's really important to you. And yes, you need to take time off for it. Only you can answer what is right and wrong for you. But I want you to think about this with like honesty in your heart. Did I allow myself to be distracted by things this year? Did I allow that distraction to stop me showing up, stop me being consistent, stop me keeping my eye on the ball and growing my business? I would say that that's one of the biggest, I don't want to say mistakes, but the most common things we do in our business that hamper or hinder our success, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And we don't want that. We want to be successful. And I want you to write down what those look like. Okay. So this year I've had a couple of big life events that have been quite full on that have taken me away from my business for a few days. I'm very lucky I've not had any big life events that have required me to step away. But here's what I also want you to ask yourself for next year. If this happens, what part of your business is still going on autopilot? Like, do you have content that can still keep going out? Are you able to show up without actually being present? Do you have things in your business that are automated? Now, if you have some of those tools in place, this can really, really help with you. So I want you to also look at, as you review this year, what systems and strategies and automations are you using in your business? Because that's one of my final things I want you to focus on is what tools are you using in your business? I want you to write them all down. Go through your business credit card and look at what you're subscribing to. And then I want you to ask yourself honestly, am I using these tools? Am I getting value from these tools? And are they going to help me to automate and grow my business? That's what's really, really important, because there is no ease to creating social media content, but there are lots of tools that can support. There are AI tools, there are Canva, there are the scheduling tools. All of those can support that. So I want you to ask yourself, like if you're paying for Canva, like for me, paying for Canva is an absolute no-brainer. There are almost no days that I don't go into Canva and use it in my business. So for me, having a pro account is value for money. For you, it may not be. And again, there is no right or wrong answer to this, but I want you to kind of review what tools am I using in my business? How much have I used them in 2024? And don't sit here and go, well, Sarah says Canva's great. You don't need Canva Pro if you're not getting value from it. Ask yourself, do you need to be paying for this? And if you feel like I really want to be paying for it and I'm going to move forward and pay for it, then I want you to put yourself under some sort of pressure next year. Now, I'm going to share with you something that I've done for next year. I really like the app called Tailwind. Now, Tailwind is a scheduling app that schedules to Pinterest and Instagram. That is not the special part of it. Lots of tools schedule to Pinterest and Instagram, right? What is special about Tailwind is it allows you to access communities within Pinterest and share your content into there, and other people can share your content for you. So it grows your business. Now, I purchased Tailwind on a Black Friday special, and it was like 250 Australian dollars, half price for the whole year, with the view that I'm going to be really committed to growing my Pinterest in 2025. And so I've made a purchase now that I am committed to helping grow my business for the year ahead. So that is my goal. I'm going to go into Tailwind. I'm going to schedule things consistently. I'm going to share to communities, and I'm going to really watch my Pinterest account grow. That's one of my goals. Okay. So when you're reviewing the scheduling tools or whatever tools you've paid for, if you haven't used them, but you're like, I really feel like I'm going to use them, I want you to put yourself under pressure and say, right, you've got 3 months for next year, because we know January can be a bit hit and miss, particularly in Australia. You've got 3 months to demonstrate that you're getting value from paying for that tool. And then I want you to cancel it. Okay. Because if you're not, all you're doing is putting yourself under pressure, making yourself feel bad that you're not using something consistently. And nobody needs that. That's not how we need to run our business, through guilt and like, oh my goodness, I'm failing. That's not a productive feeling. So there are lots of ideas that I've shared with you today. And what I want you to do is take down some of these, spend some time, maybe over the Christmas break, reviewing them. But what I would really love is I'd love to see you at my goal setting and planning workshop for 2025 next week. As I mentioned, it is a paid workshop, but because you are a podcast listener, you can access and sign up for the workshop for free. If you are not in my time zone, the workshop is recorded and you'll be sent out the recording. So please go to my show notes, sign up and join me for my goal setting and planning workshop for 2025. It's on the 10th of December. It's going to be fantastic. And it's going to allow you to do that closing off of the year. So we will review 2024 before we start on 2025. So I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. I hope it has given you a chance to stop and pause and kind of reflect on what's been going on this year. How are you feeling aside from tired and exhausted and maybe a little bit burnt out? How are you feeling about the year that was? So thank you for tuning in as always. As I mentioned, next week's episode is my final episode for the year. And in that episode, I'm going to be talking about how am I spending my month. I need to actually finalize. It's either 4 or 5 weeks that I'm having off over the Christmas period. And what are my intentions in terms of what am I going to be doing in my business to set myself up for success for next year? So thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I truly appreciate you being my regular listeners. It's been fantastic having you join me for another year. I will catch you the same time next week for our final episode of 2024. And it's going to be an absolute ripper. So have a great week, stay safe, and remember to register for my workshop next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Social Circus. As your host, Sarah Thompson, I am thrilled that you've chosen to spend your time hanging out with me. I would be so grateful if you could spare an extra moment to go and leave me a review on your favorite podcasting platform. And if you even felt more excited, you could share my podcast with your friends who you think would get great value from it. Thanks so much again for tuning in.